Hello students, I am going to discuss about pointers in this video lecture, but I am not going to discuss thoroughly about pointers because that is going to take a lot of details to be covered, and that is also not my intention. So I am only intending to give you a basic understanding of pointers, that every student has to know about pointers. Based on that, you can develop your own knowledge about pointers on other aspects. First, what are pointers? A pointer is basically a variable that is capable of holding memory of another variable. That's what the difference between a normal variable and a pointer variable. A normal variable is only designed to hold value of a particular data type, whereas a pointer variable having the special privilege that it can hold the address of another variable. And this address is actually the location of another variable, and the data type of the pointer has to be same as the data type of the variable which it is going to point to. So if you want to declare an integer variable and want to make a pointer to point to that integer variable, then that pointer should also be declared with the type of integer. So pointers don't have a separate data type, they just inherit the data type of the variable. Once you have declared a pointer to a variable, then you can access the value of the variable or manipulate the value of the variable either directly using the variable name or using the pointer. So before going into the usage of pointer and the syntax we have to follow, we have to know what is the need of pointers, in what way they are going to help in our programming. First of all, pointers provide the mechanism by which we can implement call by reference. So normally when you pass arguments to functions, they are going to follow the method of call by value, where you are going to pass a value and the value will be passed as a copy, and any change made in the called function will not have any impact on the original variable. That is the call by value way of argument passing. But sometimes we want to modify the variable's value at the called function, and that modification should be reflected in the original variable. In such cases, we go for call by reference, and pointers are the means by which we can implement call by reference. And second reason is that it helps in dynamic allocation. For example, there is a implementation called the linked list. So linked list is a kind of chain of memory locations. So you can create a chain of multiple memory locations, and we can store values in each of the memory location, and there we require the usage of pointers. And thirdly, pointers can improve the efficiency of certain routines. And so there is also a problem with pointers, that pointers are the strongest in programming, that if somebody learns pointers, they will be able to understand the memory addresses and the way memory addresses are functioning. They have a better understanding of the computer hardware. But on the other hand, they are also dangerous. That is because when you directly manipulate the memory address, it can even go wrong. Either intentionally or accidentally, you may access a wrong address and manipulate that address, leading to corruption of the data. One such example is called dangling pointers. So dangling pointers is a problem of or consequence of improper usage of pointers, where you have removed an object which was pointed by a pointer, but the pointer is still used. So even though the original object has been removed or destroyed, without realizing it, you are still making use of the pointer which was previously pointing to that particular deleted object. So in that case, it's now going to point to some unknown memory region, and you will be modifying its content without knowing that you are actually accessing a wrong address. So such kind of pointer mistakes are very common, and so we have to be very choosy about the usage of pointers. Before going into the examples, this is a kind of a scenario which resembles the pointer usage. So we all know that we can control our televisions using remote control. So every TV comes with a remote control which we consider as a part of the television, and you can use that remote to change the channels. You can do all the changes with respect to the television using the remote. But you also have the option of controlling the for controlling the television using your mobile phone. It's called IR blaster, and there are mobile phone models which come with IR blaster. So if you have that in your mobile phone, then you can sync your mobile phone to that particular television, and after that you can control the TV through your mobile phone. So your mobile phone acts as a additional remote control for your television. So in addition to the original remote control, your mobile can also manipulate your television. Similarly, when you want to create a pointer, what you are actually doing is that you create one more way by which you can manipulate a variable. So in addition to the direct manipulation, your pointer can also indirectly manipulate the same variable. I'm going to show you an example of how this works. Let's say I declare a variable called int a and also initialize it with the 5. So one of the memory locations will be randomly chosen. Let us assume the memory chosen is 1000, and that memory will be assigned the value of 5. And the next line, I am declaring a pointer. How the compiler recognizes that we are declaring a pointer is that the special character we have added before the variable name. If you remove this, this just becomes a normal variable, but when you add an asterisk before a variable name, it now signifies that this is a pointer. So it's now capable of storing a address, and then I'm initializing it with the address of a. This ampersand here has to be read as address of a. So the address of a is assigned to this pointer. So what is the address of a? It is 1000, and so there is also an address needed for PTR, because even though PTR is a pointer, it is also another variable. It's also a type of variable. So a memory allocation is needed for PTR also. Now this assignment statement will take place, which results in 1000 getting assigned into the address of PTR, which is 1003. This is the current situation. Now that you have linked the pointer with the variable a, you can access a either directly using a or using PTR. So I am going to show you a few examples. So here what happens is, I am just trying to print a PTR, but this is not the proper way, because what this will result in is that it will just print the direct content of PTR, which is 1000. So it will print 1000 as a result, not 5. That is because we haven't used the asterisk here. So it will just print its direct value. Next example is, I am using ampersand PTR to print. Now what will happen is that it will print the address of PTR, which is 1003. So even now we are not able to print 5. We print the actual address of PTR itself. So the proper way by which we can manipulate or access a through PTR is asterisk PTR. So here the asterisk is called dereferencing operator. So dereferencing operator means that we use this operator to indicate that I want to access the variable pointed by PTR. So I want to print the value of the variable which is being pointed by PTR. Now compiler will first go to PTR, will take this address, and then it will go to its that address specified here, and finally it will print this particular value. So this is the proper way by which we can access a variable through a pointer. And this increment will also take place in the same way. Again we have used the dereferencing operator, so it will result in take 1000 and then go to 1000 and then increment the content of 1000, which results in 6. Look at this second implementation. Again it's a wrong usage because we have missed the asterisk. So what this will result in is that it will increment the 1000 itself. So 1000 itself will be incremented, and PTR is no longer pointing to A. So if you now try to print the value of PTR as a asterisk PTR, it will not print 6, it will print some random value. It will print some garbage value out of the memory. So we don't know what is actually stored in this particular address. Some random value will be printed out of the. Now I am going to discuss about the difference between call by value and call by reference through an example. So in this example, I have got a main function along with a function called increment. So in the main function, I have a variable called val, which is initialized with 5, and that looks like this. So val contains 5 as its value, and there is an address assigned to val, and that address is containing 5. And after that, we make a function call. This function call results in creation of another variable. So there is an argument which also contains a declaration. So that also gets some memory location. Let us assume it is 1005. Now what happens is that it's a call by value function call. As a result, a copy of the value is passed from the calling function to the called function, and it is stored in the address of the argument, which is arg. So the address of arg now contains 5, and in the next line I am trying to change the value of arg into 10. So we have changed the value of the argument. Now what will happen when you print this particular value? Whether it will print the modified value or it will print the old value. As you can clearly see, the addresses of val and arg are totally different. So we only have changed inside arg. No change happened in val, and we are only printing the value of the val variable. So it will only print 5. This is what we are referring as call by value. So under call by value, what precisely happens is that a copy of the value is simply passed to the called function and stored inside its argument and manipulated locally within the called function, and any change made will not have any impact on the actual variable in the calling function. Now let us try to implement the same example through call by reference. So in this case, I have changed the argument as address. So I have just mentioned that ampersand has to be referred as address of. So we are passing address of val as argument to increment, and here also we declare a variable, but this variable is now a special variable of type pointer, and this results in assignment of an address. And subsequently, because it's now a pointer and we are passing address of val, what is actually received in arg is the address of val itself. So 1002 is assigned into arg, and you know this particular statement, it's now dereferencing. So we are dereferencing arg. In other words, we are accessing val through arg. So when you change 10, you don't change here, it is changed here itself. And now when you come back after the function is completed and print the printf, you will print 10 itself will be printed. So this is the difference between call by value and call by reference, and the usage of pointer is the basis by which we can implement call by reference. But in C++, we have one more way of implementing call by reference called the reference variable, and that will be discussed later in our discussions. And so we are now going to look at some association between pointers and arrays. Pointers and arrays are very closely associated. In fact, arrays are by default pointers. So it's not like pointers and arrays. Arrays are by default, they are also a type of pointers. So and one more point is that arrays are assigned consecutive addresses. So whenever we declare an array, it takes a certain number of memory addresses, and those memory addresses are always assigned in consecutive order. So what do we mean by consecutive order is that if the first address of our index 0 is 1000, then the next address will be 1001, and the subsequent address will be 1002, and so on. So this is what is very, very important about arrays. Arrays are always assigned consecutive addresses. This point is important because the array addresses are always consecutive. If you know the first address, you can calculate the nth address. So if you just add n with the first address, it automatically takes you to the nth address. So you don't need to store all the addresses of an array. You only need to store the first address, and that first address is also referred as base address. So when it comes to arrays, the C compiler only stores the base address in its in the array. It does not store all other addresses. It is left to the programmer to keep track of the memory location. So whenever you use an index, that index is simply added with the base address and you go to that particular address. It's like the last statement. If you want to access array of 3, what really happens is that the base address plus 3. So third location from the base address, that's what happens. Third address from the base address you are able to access. And an array name by default is a pointer. This is another very important point. So whenever you declare a array, if you just mention or refer the array name alone, you are actually dealing with a pointer. So it's an implicit pointer. You don't need to declare it with the asterisk symbol. When you declare an array, compiler anyway declares it as a pointer only, and that pointer is what contains the base address. As a result, you cannot increment the base array pointer. So array plus plus is illegal. It's possible or it is legal in other pointers. You can write ptr plus plus. I just showed you in another example that you can increment ptr as ptr plus plus. But here it is illegal. You can't execute it. Compiler will throw error message. That is because array is a pointer, but it contains the base address of the array. So if you increment the array pointer, you will be losing the base address. So that is in that case you cannot keep track of the array. So it is not permitted to increment the array pointer. And and another very important point is that because array is by default a pointer, whenever you pass an array as an argument to a function, it is call by reference by default. So you don't need to do any explicit call by reference when you are passing arrays to functions. By default it will be considered as call by reference. Just look at this example. I declare an array and as initialize with these values, and as I told you, array is a pointer because it's an array, and then I pass the array. Okay, here this is the syntax when you want to pass an entire array. So what really you are passing is the base address of the array. The starting address, that is address of 5, is what we are passing here, and here you are declaring a as another array, and that is also a pointer. Okay, and that will receive the base address of array, and you do the sorting, and after you complete the sorting, if you print that array here, you are going to print the sorted elements. So you can see that I haven't used any ampersand or asterisk here, but by default array passing is going to be implemented as call by reference only. So you don't need to return the values in order to see the modified values. And because it's a array by default is a pointer, this statement is equivalent to this asterisk array plus 3. So what the meaning of both is same, that is base address plus 3. So and similarly this is also no different. Array plus 3 is not any different from 3 plus array, because you just have to add the two numbers and you get the address. And even this is also considered as valid for by the compiler, because it only considers matters one thing, that is base address plus the index value. And we can make a pointer to point to an array also. So we have just seen that an array by default is a pointer, but sometimes we may want to have an explicit pointer to an array like this. So that happens like int asterisk ptr equal to array. So what we are assigning the array to this pointer, and note that I haven't used an ampersand because this is also a pointer. It's more of copying this array into this. So now both will point to the same base address. After this statement, both pointers pointing to the same address. Only difference is that you cannot change the base address of array, but you can change the base address of ptr. And after that, if you want to print the value of this array, you can also use the pointer like this. Both are actually same equivalent. The next concept is multiple indirection or pointer to pointer. This does not have much of usage, but you just have to know about it. I am just going to give you the basis of this concept. See, you can create one pointer to point to a variable. Same way you can create a pointer to point to another pointer. So here it's called pointer to pointer. As you can see the diagram here, in a normal single indirection there is a pointer which points to a variable, but in a multiple indirection a pointer points to another pointer and it points to a variable. So how do you specify that you want to use a pointer to pointer is by adding one more asterisk. So like this. So here you have declared asterisk q, which indicates to the compiler that here q has to be treated as a pointer to pointer. And then you can see the implementation. First we assign the address of x to p, and then we assign the address of p to q. So here q begins to point to p, and now if you want to print the value of x through p, then you just have to write asterisk p, but if you want to print x through q, then you have to write it like this, asterisk q. This is now the dereferencing operator for pointer to pointer. So this is enough for you to know about multiple pointers. So there is not much usage for the multiple pointers, but it is just available. Next is pointers to functions. So just like we can make a pointer to point to a variable, we can make a pointer point to an array, we can also make a pointer to point to a function. That is because even functions are occupying memory addresses. So whenever you have memory addresses, you can use a pointer. So same way when you declare a function or when you define a function, it occupies a certain memory region, and the first address of the starting address of the function is here the base address, and you can use a function pointer and assign the base address of the function, and subsequently you can call the function through the pointer. So that is the meaning of function pointer. So function pointers are pointers that points to functions. Now what is the real usage of function pointers? One simple usage is that you can pass a function as an argument to another function. So normally this is impossible. You cannot pass a function as an argument. We can only pass variables, arrays. But in this through this concept you can forward a pointer to a function, and indirectly it means we are passing the function itself as an argument. So once again it has a very limited usage. We just have to know the syntax of this particular concept, but practically we don't have much of usage of this concept. Now first thing is, how do you obtain the base address of a function? Here we have to follow the same technique we followed for a array. If you want to get the address of an array and assign it to a pointer, you just have to write the name of the array. Similarly, if you just write the name of the function without the function arguments or brackets, it is going to assign the address of the function to the pointer. Look at these examples. So int sum int a comma b is a function which has a logic that it returns a plus b, and now I declare a pointer. See, it's very important that you understand the syntax of the function pointer declaration. You can see that it is equivalent to the signature of the function. So the return type has to be same, number of arguments have to be same, and the types of arguments should also be same. So int, and in the argument I have two integers, and then I put an asterisk here because it's now a pointer, and very important is I have to also put the brackets. So if you don't put the brackets before and after the function pointer, then the compiler will misinterpret this line as fptr is a function which returns an integer pointer. So it does not understand that this is a function pointer. It will wrongly assume that fptr is a function which is going to return an integer pointer. So to avoid it, we put a bracket. Now this is going to be treated as a function pointer, which is going to be pointing to a function whose signature is return type integer and 2 integer arguments. Now we can assign that function address to this pointer, as I told you, by just mentioning the name of the function. So it is going to be, now what happens is that this pointer now begins to point to this particular function. So if you want to call the sum function, you can either call it as a sum bracket 5 6, or you can call it using the function pointer. They both are equivalent. So this is the concept of function pointers. And finally, we can also use pointers to point to structure. So you hope you you know the meaning of structures. So I just have given a brief definition about a structure. A structure is a collection of variables referenced under one common name, and it provides a convenient means of keeping related information together. For example, if you want to create a student structure where you are going to represent the student details, you can create one structure under which you can provide all the individual variables, int register number, int roll number, marks, and so on. So under one name, you can create a kind of record. That is the benefit of structures. And the members, okay, the elements are all the individual variables that are part of the structure are usually referred as members of a structure, and the variable that you create for a structure is called the structure variable. In C++, we will also refer them as structure objects. An example, struct author. So this is a record for storing all the author details for each person. There is an author number, name, phone number, and address. And now to create an instance of this structure variable, that I can declare it as struct author, name of the variable. And after that, I can access the individual members in this way: author dot number equal to number, and we can also access all other members. So this is the simple syntax of the structure. First, you have to create a structure, put all the individual members inside the declaration, and put a semicolon here, and then you declare your own structure variable, which will be a replication of this structure. So what we are actually doing here is that we are creating a copy of the structure which we have declared here, and then we can start using the members of the structure by using the dot operator. Now when you want to access the members through the pointer, it has to be done like this. That is called structure pointers. So C++ allows pointers to be created for structures. For example, this is the declaration. So to declare a pointer to point to a structure, this is a syntax: struct name of the structure to which we want our pointer to point to, and then asterisk and the pointer name. And after that, it can be declared like strptr equal to ampersand, the name of the actual structure. So here I have declared the structure as author, small letter author, and so I have declared it like this. And after that, whenever we want to access the member using the pointer, we have to use an arrow operator. So note that in the normal usage we have used the dot operator, but when you want to access through the pointer, we have to use the arrow operator. And one more point to be noted is that we should not be using, or we don't need to use any asterisk here. So no dereferencing is needed, that is not required. So name of the pointer, arrow, member name. We can access the members, and we can either assign or print the values. So finally, we just had a brief discussion on the concept of pointers. Pointers are a way to manipulate memory addresses directly through our programs. A pointer must be declared with the same data type of the variable it points to. It may be an integer, character, float, or even a structure, or even a function. Improper usage of pointer could lead to a lot of unexpected errors, and arrays are by default pointers, and we can create pointers to pointers, multiple in direction. Thank you.